The security team said my system access was fully revoked. The infrastructure still routed through credentials only I controlled. No one had asked me to transfer them. My name is Amy, and I'd worked as a systems administrator for the consulting firm for 4 years. Network infrastructure, server management, access control protocols. The termination notice came on a Friday afternoon. Immediate dismissal. Security would escort me out. Standard procedure for IT staff. HR said it was a restructuring decision. My role was redundant. My co-worker had been promoted to senior systems administrator 3 weeks earlier. She'd be taking over my responsibilities. She'd also filed a complaint about me 2 months ago. Claimed I was territorial, uncooperative, blocking her access to critical systems. I hadn't been blocking her. I'd been following security protocols, the ones I'd written. But the complaint went to her friend in HR, the one who processed her promotion. My escort arrived. Security guard, friendly but firm. I packed my personal items, handed over my badge, my laptop, my phone. They walked me to the parking garage. I got in my car, drove home. Then I opened my personal laptop. The VPN I'd set up 4 years ago was still active. The administrative credentials I'd created were still valid. The infrastructure I'd built had a back door. Not for malicious purposes, for emergency access, disaster recovery. I was the only one who knew it existed, and I hadn't been asked to document it. I logged in. The system recognised my credentials. Full administrative access. I opened the monitoring dashboard, checked the network status. Everything was running normally. Then I created a new folder on my personal drive, labelled it System Documentation. I started taking screenshots, network topology, server configurations, access logs, backup protocols. Everything I'd built over 4 years. Everything that would be difficult to maintain without proper documentation. I worked for 3 hours, methodical, thorough. Then I logged out, closed my laptop. I didn't plan to use the access, not yet. I just wanted to see what would happen when my co-worker realised how much she didn't know. The weekend passed. Monday morning, I checked my personal email. Nothing from the company. I opened my VPN again, logged into the monitoring system. 7 alerts, all critical. Network latency issues, backup failures, access control errors. Normal Monday morning problems, the kind I used to handle in the first hour of my day. I checked the ticket queue. 3 tickets assigned to my co-worker, all filed over the weekend. None had been resolved. I logged out, made coffee, waited. Tuesday, I checked again. 14 alerts now. The Monday issues hadn't been fixed. New problems had emerged. 2 client systems were reporting downtime. That meant SLA violations, penalty clauses in the contracts. I took screenshots, time-stamped everything, added them to my folder. Wednesday morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. It was my former manager. He said they needed help with a technical issue, urgent, client-facing. I asked if this was about my termination. He said no, separate matter. They just needed some quick guidance. I said I'd need to review my severance agreement first, see if it included technical support obligations. He paused, said there was no severance agreement. I'd been terminated for cause. I said I'd received no documentation of cause, just a termination letter citing restructuring. He said he'd have HR send the details. I said I'd wait for that before providing any assistance. He hung up. I checked the monitoring system again. 23 alerts, 3 content systems down. The ticket queue had 48 open items. My co-worker had resolved 6 tickets total today, Thursday. HR sent an email. They said my termination was based on the complaint filed by my co-worker. Lack of cooperation, refusal to share system documentation. They attached the complaint. I read it carefully. It claimed I had refused to grant her administrative access, refused to document critical systems, created a hostile work environment. I opened my own files, found the email chain from 3 months ago. My co-worker had requested full administrative credentials. I'd replied with the security protocol. She needed manager approval, a business justification, security training certification, standard procedure, written by me, approved by the security committee. She'd never completed the requirements. I'd sent 2 follow-up emails, offering to help her through the certification process. She'd never responded. I severed to my documentation folder. Then I drafted a response to HR. Short, professional. I stated that the complaint contained factual inaccuracies. I have filed attached security protocols. I had documentation supporting this. I requested a formal review of the termination decision. I sent it Friday morning. The auto-reply said HR would respond within 10 business days. I checked the monitoring system. 31 alerts. 4 client systems down. The ticket queue showed 87 open items. My co-worker had been promoted to senior systems administrator. She was drowning. Week 2 began quietly. Monday, I received a LinkedIn message from a client manager at one of the consulting firm's largest accounts. He asked if I was still with the company. Their systems had been unstable for a week. No one was responding to their tickets. I said I'd left the company, suggested he escalate through his account manager. He thanked me, said he would. Tuesday, I checked the system again. 43 alerts, 5 clients affected. A new ticket caught my attention, filed by the CFO. Subject: Network audit required. The body text: Multiple client complaints, SLA violations. Need immediate assessment of system stability and administrative competence. The ticket was assigned to my former manager. Wednesday, I received a response from HR. They'd reviewed my request. They stood by the termination decision. The complaint had been investigated. My departure was appropriate. They included no details of the investigation, no timeline, no evidence reviewed. I replied immediately. I replied specific information: who conducted the investigation, what evidence was considered, what protocol violations I had allegedly committed. I attached my email chain with my co-worker, showing I'd followed security procedures. I sent it Wednesday afternoon. Thursday morning, I received a call from an unknown number, not my former manager this time. A woman introduced herself. External auditor. Hired by the consulting firm to review their IT infrastructure. She said she'd been given my contact information by the CFO. He mentioned I'd built most of their current systems. She asked if I'd be willing to consult on the audit, paid engagement, short term. I asked if the firm had approved this. She said yes, the CFO had authorized it. I asked about the scope. She said they needed documentation of the network architecture, system access protocols, backup procedures, disaster recovery plans. I said I documented all of that during my employment. It should be in their system. She said they couldn't locate it. I said I'd need to think about it. She said the CFO was eager to move quickly. Client relationships were at risk. I said I'd respond by Friday. Thursday evening, I checked the monitoring system. 52 alerts. 6 client systems reporting issues. The ticket queue was at 114 open items. My co-worker had updated her LinkedIn profile. Senior Systems Administrator, leading critical infrastructure modernization. The infrastructure wasn't being modernized. It was failing. Friday morning, I called the auditor back. I said I'd consult on one condition. The engagement had to be through a formal contract, with my own company, not as an individual. She asked if I had a company. I said I'd register one by Monday. She said that would work. She'd send a contract template. I spent Friday afternoon registering an LLC, business license, tax ID, bank account. I named it Cascade Systems Consulting. Monday morning, the contract arrived. Review of IT infrastructure, documentation of current systems, assessment of administrative procedures. 40 hours, $10,000. I reviewed it, made 2 changes, added a clause about access to all systems for audit purposes, added a confidentiality provision protecting my methodology. I sent it back. They accepted it Tuesday morning. I started Wednesday. The auditor sent me a list of questions. I scheduled a video call for Thursday. Thursday at 2 we met. She shared her screen, showed me the current network diagram. It was incomplete, missing 3 critical servers, wrong subnet configurations, outdated security groups. I asked who had provided it. She said my co-worker, the current senior systems administrator. I asked if I could see the access logs, needed to understand who had been managing what. She pulled them up. My co-worker had logged into the system 43 times in 2 weeks. Average session duration, 6 minutes. She'd made configuration changes exactly twice. Both changes had created new problems. I took notes, asked more questions, documented everything. The call lasted 90 minutes. Afterward, I logged into my backdoor access. Not to change anything, just to verify what I was seeing. The access logs were accurate. The configuration was deteriorating. Systems I'd carefully tuned were now misconfigured. I logged out, started writing my report. I worked on it for 3 days, 15 pages, executive summary, detailed findings, recommendations. The core finding: the current administrative team lacked the knowledge to maintain the infrastructure. Critical documentation was missing. System access protocols had been bypassed. Client SLA violations were likely to continue without intervention. I recommended immediate action. Either restore proper documentation and training, or engage experienced external support. I submitted the report Monday morning. Tuesday, the CFO called me directly. He thanked me for the report, said it confirmed their concerns. He asked if I'd be interested in a longer engagement, 3 months, help stabilize the systems, train the current team. I said I'd need to consider it. He said the clients were threatening to leave. The firm couldn't afford more downtime. I asked about my termination, how that would be addressed. He paused, said that was an HR matter. I said it was relevant to my decision. I'd been terminated for allegedly refusing to cooperate. Now I was being asked to return and cooperate. He said he'd speak with HR. Wednesday, I received an email from HR. They wanted to schedule a call. Thursday at 10, I confirmed. Thursday morning, 3 people joined the call. The HR director, my former manager, the CFO. The HR director opened. She said they'd reviewed my termination file in detail. She said there were procedural concerns. The investigation had been insufficient. My documentation had not been properly considered. She said they were prepared to offer a resolution. I waited. She continued. They would reverse the termination, classify it as a resignation, provide 4 weeks of severance. In exchange, I would sign a release. No legal action, mutual non-disparagement. I asked about the complaint from my co-worker. Would that remain in my file? She saying yes, but that would be marked as disputed. I said that wasn't sufficient. The complaint was factually false. I had evidence. The CFO spoke. He said they needed to move forward. The systems required attention. I said I understood. But my professional reputation required a complete resolution. My former manager spoke for the first time. He said they'd be willing to remove the complaint entirely, clean record. I asked about the 3-month consulting engagement. The CFO said it was still available, separate from the termination resolution. I said I'd accept on specific terms. The complaint removed, severance provided, consulting contract at my proposed rate. The HR director asked my rate. I said $200 per hour, 3-month minimum, full system access, authority to implement necessary changes. The CFO didn't hesitate. He said yes. I said I'd need it in writing. He said they'd send contracts by Friday. The call ended. Friday afternoon, 3 documents arrived. Termination reversal agreement, severance letter, consulting contract. I reviewed each one carefully. The termination reversal stated that my departure was reclassified as a voluntary resignation. The complaint would be removed from all records. 4-week severance would be paid. The consulting contract matched my terms. $200 per hour, 3 months minimum, $24,000 base. I signed all 3, sent them back. The following Monday, I started the consulting engagement. I worked remotely, full system access restored, but this time documented and authorized. My first action was a complete audit. I logged every system, every configuration, every security setting. Then I documented everything, created a comprehensive knowledge base, network diagrams, access procedures, backup protocols, disaster recovery plans. Everything my co-worker should have had from the beginning. It took 4 weeks. During that time, I also trained the team. Weekly sessions, hands-on exercises, security certification support. My co-worker attended every session. She took notes, asked questions, followed the procedures. She wasn't incompetent. She'd just been promoted before she was ready. And the person who should have trained her had been fired. Week 8, the system stabilized. Alert count dropped from 50 plus to fewer than 5. Client complaints stopped. The CFO sent me an email, thanked me for the turnaround, asked if I'd extend the engagement. I said I'd complete the 3 months as contracted, then I'd transition to as-needed support. He agreed. Week 12 arrived. I delivered the final documentation package, 400 pages, complete system architecture, operational procedures, security protocols, training materials. I also delivered the backdoor access credentials, the emergency VPN I'd created 4 years ago. I documented it formally, added it to the disaster recovery procedures, transferred ownership to the security team. Then, I deactivated my personal access. The consulting contract ended on a Friday. Monday morning, I opened my new company's email. 3 inquiries, all from consulting firms in Seattle, all asking about IT infrastructure support. The CFO had made referrals. I scheduled calls with all 3. 2 became clients within a month. 6 months after my termination, Cascade Systems Consulting had 5 clients.
annual revenue exceeded what I'd made at the consulting firm. I hired an assistant, then a junior systems administrator. 1 year later, I had 8 clients. Revenue had doubled. I never took on the consulting firm as a permanent client, just occasional project work, always contracted, always documented. My co-worker stayed in her role. She completed the security certification, built her skills. Eventually, she became competent. We never discussed what happened, never addressed the complaint or the termination. We remained professional, cordial, nothing more. 2 years after starting Cascade Systems, I sold it. A larger IT services company made an offer. Good multiple, clean exit. I used the proceeds to invest in 3 other startups, all tech infrastructure companies. I kept one thing from the consulting firm days: the original documentation I'd created that first weekend. The screenshots, the audit trail, the evidence of the system falling apart. Not as a trophy, not as revenge, as a reminder that the systems we build outlast the politics that surround them.